All right, guys. So today we're going to look through a couple steps. I'm going to link this in our on our Google site here in a little bit, but we're going to talk about sublimating and creating our mouse pad. Okay. So with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about a few things we need to understand first. Okay. So if your image is looking pixelated, things like that, you probably want to use in Adobe Illustrator to make sure that we are taking like a image that is rasterized. All right, like this, it kind of shows a rasterized image uses pixels, all right, to create the image, whereas a vector image uses paths. All right, what this allows, if it is saved as a vector, if we look up a vector online, that means you can expand it and not really worry about losing quality of the picture there, or whatever the design is. Okay, so this is just something to mention now. We'll look into that a little bit more the further we get into this. All right, now we've already talked about sublimation and how it works. All right, today this is the process we're going to be working through. We're going to go through printing the actual image or design onto a piece of paper and through there, pressing it, letting the ink turn into that gaseous state, move to the next closest thing, which is our substrate, and there we go. We'll have our finished product. All right, so important steps. We've talked about everything. You should have made sure that your design was the correct size, that you were happy with your print, and we want to make sure we clean our substrate. I've got some blue tape somewhere around here that we'll use for that, and then that'll just make sure we don't have any lint there. Okay, and then as always, we're going to talk about safety with that here in a second. All right, so you've created this using one of our three design softwares, whether that be Photoshop, InDesign, or Illustrator, whichever one. But whatever you do, save it as either InDesign file, Photoshop file, but as well as save it or export it as either a JPEG or SVG. All right, and then lastly, it is going to be very important today. I'm going to be cutting this on. It's going to be very hot. Use the glove. That way you make sure that you are not burnt today. Okay, that is going to be very important. All right, so the settings we have here, I've got it all summarized on today's thing. So your design for this should be 9.5 by 8. It's going to be printed out on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and then you're going to tape that on there or just line it up however you're comfortable, and we're going to press that. Um, the expectation is for this is that you're going to have it at 400 degrees and press it for 45 seconds with like a medium to firm pressure. All right, you want to make sure there's enough pressure there. It'll already be set for you, but that just means you want to feel it when it kind of locks into place. All right, so these are some examples that you guys can do later on, but I think I have the wrong. Oh, yeah. All right. So that's where we're at for today. Okay. So now, with that being said, let's jump in and we'll see. Here is an example. I have 9 of you that have turned it in. If you've not turned it in, all right, this is up to you to get turned in so that we can do it in time. But I've got SIDS already open here. All right. And all I'm going to do so you guys can see this entire process that I've got to go through is first of all, I got to hook up the printer. All right, I do have it cabled to where we'll go in. And I need to do it, all right, instead of you guys hooking up to it directly, because to make sure the colors come out right, we're going to send it to the print manager set up for a sublimation printer. So all I'm going to do here is I'm going to download this image. It's going to pop up here. I'm going to go ahead and double click. And now I'm going to click print. Now it's going to be important, right? I've got multiple different printers I could send it to. I could do a black and white copy. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to send it to the print manager. And I'm going to go ahead and click print. Now this is the manager. So it's actually not going to print it right now. But it's going to pop up here in a second. Boom. And it's going to ask me a couple things. Okay, so if we look here, one of the last things I printed on was metal. So it's asking, what is the substrate? It's asking because sometimes the colors and how you want to set up, it needs to be changed. So we're going to say, okay, this is a polyester mouse pad. So we're going to choose polyester. And we're going to want a high quality print. It's going to be pulling paper from tray 1. Okay, so we're good there. Let's go ahead and go to layout. All right, we're good there. Everything's good. Boom. We're going to use the layout from the design that we already have. We have the size. It did convert it to pixels. Okay. We have 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. We're going to keep on rolling. We can do photographic or vivid. We're going to leave it as photographic and then other. All right, we're good to go. So all we have to do now is we're going to click that print option. and it is going to send it to the printer. And now we just wait. As the printer prints, eventually, all right, it's kicking off now. It is going to push that out, and what's happening here is it's taking that liquid ink, all right, and it's putting it onto the paper. However, as we've mentioned before, this is special ink to where once it is heated up, it will turn into a gaseous state, and it will stick to the next closest thing here. Okay, so as we wait on this, the next steps we're going to be taking, we're going to take this off, and the next step is very important. We're going to use heat resistant tape. All right, regular tape just like this isn't going to work. That is going to melt, all right, our design there. So what we want to do is make sure we use heat resistant tape, and we're going to tape this into place. I also would encourage you to take scissors, all right, and cut out the design. So let me go ahead and grab this design. All right, so now what you'll notice is sometimes, and this is through trial and error, it may not look exactly right. Okay, so if you look, the red here, all right, looks a lot more vivid, a lot more colorful than what we're actually seeing. Okay, now sometimes that is a print error, and a lot of times though, it's not going to look exactly right until you press it on there and it releases into that state, and it's going to bleed. So the next part we're going to do here is we're going to cut this out, stick this onto our printer, all right, and we would be good to go then. Okay. Now, I will say I noticed one thing that has already kind of been an issue here is that you may not notice it on this side, but Deadpool is actually facing the wrong way. Probably. Will it matter for this design? Probably not. But what we do want to do is when we go into the print manager, if in the future we want to switch that, we're going to click print, and it can actually, you can tell it to automatically reverse the image or not. So right here, to mirror the image, because remember, as we go to do it, all right, once we transfer it, you kind of look like you're going through, right? So this is how it's going to be set up. So it's important to also mirror that there. Okay. Now all that's left though is cutting the design out, taping it to your substrate, and pressing it, and that's it. Okay. So that part we will do in class together. And if you have any questions, let me know.